Hello everyone. Today is Friday, September 28th, day 18. I just got back from happy hour. I left school, went to happy hour for my dear friend Cheryl and colleague, and anywho, she's moving to another district. We were just talking about the differences and just sort of spurred me on to want to talk about my personal stuff about how another lens that I see kids and another framework that I use to advocate and talk about inclusion. We just got permission to talk to our staff, have a little training on October 25th about inclusion. So if you're a SPED teacher and you talk about inclusion a lot, let me know what you do. I would just love to get as many ideas as possible on what works, what things that your school did that really were amazing, what not to do. We are sort of trialing out some other stuff with our self-contained sort of setting and how we have been doing inclusion this year, and it's been going amazing, and I love it, but of course you always want to improve and get better. And so anywho, putting that out there. Something I was thinking about on my way back to school, because today was kind of hard in the middle of the day, and something that I don't want this blog to be, although I want it to be reflective and honest and sincere, I don't want it to be a gripe session or that negative talk that I've been talking about. I have done away with that in my life and sort of trying to obviously keep a positive outlook on stuff. There's always a positive spin. There's always something to be grateful for. And I've and probably go on to talk about this in a later blog post, but I believe that I've changed my brain chemistry with actively being grateful about at least three things. There's tons of studies out there that talk about that, and a book, of all the books that I have on my bookshelf, one of them is something about that. I don't know which one it is right now. I'm sure it's something by Charles Duhigg, but anywho, I just was realizing trying to think about what am I going to talk about today, what should I not talk about, and something that I do want to keep in mind moving forward is that I want this to be a little bit here's how we did, for, families that are looking in, how was the day? Every day is usually pretty amazing. And if anything is happening, it's usually the adult problems going on that are just harder to swallow. Anything that kids are doing, we got this, my team's amazing. We work things out, we make it happen for any kid that's in here. It's just all the other adult things that you have to deal with. And so just finding ways to cope with that. And I did have a moment today that I felt and I'll probably go into this later, the zones of regulation, I did feel emerging red, and thankfully it was at lunch. So there wasn't any kids in here, but just I'll talk about zones of regulation later, but just feeling emotionally sort of fragile and raw, and then kids are coming in, and then you have to be on. I don't know if you're not a teacher and you're watching this, when you're a teacher, you are on all the time. The minute you step into the building, you're on for your staff. When the minute the kids come in, you're on for the kids. There's no downtime, because at least in this setting, even if you think that you're going to have a down moment, your lunch break, or, the kids are out at recess and you've planned to have the IAs out there, stuff happens and you still got to be on. You're still processing what's going on and rearranging your day to make it just better. And so at the end of the day, there's a reason why teacher tired is a thing. We be tired. Anywho, so I just moving forward, I am going to try to make this as much informational as possible, also as real as possible, but keeping confidentiality obviously, and keeping stories and things relatable. So anywho, just talking about inclusion with the staff members and what we're doing, and just sort of reflecting over the past couple weeks of the first 18 days, and next week it's going to be October, and that somehow seems really crazy. I just wanted to talk about my disclaimer. This is how I mentally see And most of us, when we're reading or when we're learning to read, like we see in pictures, and probably most of us, I don't know how your brain works, but I still see in pictures when I'm interpreting information and thinking about a process or a system or a concept, like I'm making a mental picture in my head, which is something I do for my students when we're working on whatever it is. You could be doing anything, and I will write that down to talk about that later too. But this is how I see when and if and how we're going to include students in their general education setting for whatever. And there's two things that I usually look for, and there's a lot of other things that you could put on a continuum. Like, I love the word continuum because it's kind of a catch-all to anything. But I'm just for little tidbit, like, these blog posts are like fulfilling a childhood dream of being an actress. And so here we go. Like, you can't see this, but I bought a tripod, and this is a thing now that I do, and I'm going to do at least 180 of them. And here we go. So, anywho, childhood moment being fulfilled right now. But this is my brain thought. This is how I mentally see the continuums of inclusion. And so we've got, your concept of curriculum, your Common Core, your whatever a teacher is teaching to their class that has to do with some sort of academic content. You've got, mastery. You've got, obviously the kids in Gen Ed are going for mastery of those concepts. And then some kids are just being exposed to that content. They're going to be relating to it. They're going to be, manipulating the things that they're working with, or thinking about those essential standards and building up to mastering that full-on content, whatever grade level it is. This is how I sort of see and how I talk to teachers about how, like, okay, this kiddo's, gonna be here, and like we're just going for a lot of exposure, and like if we get a concept, like, awesome, but like we're really working on IEP goals, and that's great too, and like what can they be there for that, like, you're doing whole group, and talking about last time with the fine motor skills, like what's going to prevent them, what's going to be a barrier so that they can expose, and like what is barriersless, like sitting and listening. Usually for students who are going to, have some sort of mastery, is like you're going to be able to sit and listen and pay attention for some amount of time to engage with that, the teaching that is happening for that teacher and for all the other kids. And then I usually think of, social skills. Like, some kids are going to be, on point with their other peers, like building relationships, like that active play, they're doing things together, and they're sharing, and they're negotiating, they're solving problems. Like, that's where we're going here. And some kids are just being exposed, like, a key feature of, when you think of typical students with autism, like, that social skill thing is usually a lagging skill. And so, like, usually it takes one-on-one or sort of really direct instruction on, like, how to share and how to, X, Y, and Z of whatever concept you're going for, some social skills or play, or just sort of interacting with other people. You're directly teaching that. But, some kids can be exposed to that and then, like, see a model and, like, directing with it. We need Gen Ed peers in order to model that. Like, I can't be a Gen Ed peer for a student in kindergarten. Like, I can, try to act as silly as possible, and I can make a video and a social story, but like, I'm not a 5-year-old child as much as I would like to be on the weekends. So anywho, that's where I'm going with this. Like, some students are more on this continuum of, like, mastery, and usually those kids we try to graduate out of this sort of setting. And then there's some kids who are going for exposure, and that's super awesome. Like, any kid anywhere on here in my brain, disclaimer, this is how my brain sees things, is where we're going, and we're constantly trying to move and, like, build their capacity to be able to do more and more things. And we want to get over there, but it's an arrow. It's back and forth. It depends on, like, what part of the curriculum, what specific social skill. Typically those are the things that we write IEP goals for, so that they can access and gain mastery for such and such curriculum point or Common Core standard. So and then you insert your, like, thing. It could be behavior, it could be whatever it is, social emotional regulation. Anywho, if you see this, this is my new clicker that goes with my tripod stand, which I feel totally cool having. I feel like a professional somehow. Anywho, I'm gonna click this, and then I no longer have to edit my videos because it's not like me weirdly coming up to the camera to press stop. Anywho, I hope you all, whoever is watching, has a fabulous weekend and has lovely plans. It's gonna be gorgeous here in Portland, and I'm excited to go outside and do stuff. And I think for my mental health, I need to go on a run, or at least a brisk walk around town. So, anywho, I'll see you later.